I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And today was the day that boy in the box that we've been talking about, who we're not going to name by name, that's why I'm calling him the boy who's in the box, testified in court, not in a satellite courtroom the way his sister did, but in the courtroom with his father as his father watched him. Compelling stuff. Take a look. There's everyone inside the courtroom. We didn't get to see him, and the cameras, yeah, they pick up some things, but you have to be in that room to fully understand the tension and what it was like. So let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Julia Janae outside the Palm Beach County Courthouse. She was inside the courtroom today. Julia, great to see you. Please describe for us what it was like in the courtroom as adopted son is testifying against his father.
Vinny, good to be with you. The jury could feel the details from this son on the stand. So it was a good thing that prosecutors said that he wanted to be there in the courtroom, unlike his sister, because the state did want him in a separate satellite courtroom to really protect these child witnesses, not have them face off with basically their parents there inside of the courtroom. But he was able to describe for them not eating dinners with his family, being locked away, eating the dinner alone inside of that room, that he was scared at times, that his father was aggressive with him. He came off, though, as very self-assured. He was really mature for the 16-year-old teenager that he is. We know that he takes advanced classes. He is good at math and science, and he was very articulate on the stand, especially for someone his age. But I noticed he didn't make any eye contact with his father, who was watching everything he did from the defense table, and his mother, Tracy Ferriter, who really didn't move at all as she sat in the gallery on the first row, listening to her son detail what his life was like, especially the 6 weeks before he ran away, Vinny.
Had to be absolutely compelling. So did he describe for this jury what it was like to be in that box?
He did. And, you know, the prosecutors emphasized the word box, and they say it was a cell-like structure. The defense calls it a room. The parents at one point told police it was a timeout place. But here we could hear from him in his own words what it was like, this structure that he one day overheard his parents talking about building for him again in their Florida home.
Did you like being in that room?
No.
Did you want to be in the room?
No.
How did it make you feel?
To me, being locked in a room, it's dehumanizing. It's almost as bad as genocide. It's saddening to abuse a child that was just acting like a child, never thinking of what an adult would think to do to a child that would succumb his or her efforts in daily life to succeed. Suffering from emotional pain, suffering, trauma.
You know, his response to that question, it's like everyone leaned in to listen to how he would describe what we've heard about. The jury also saw this video for the first time, the inside of that box-like structure. That was Tim Ferriter installing the Ring camera that would watch the movements of his son at all times. And you can see there the mattress on the floor, the desk in the corner, and you can't really see it there, but we know at one point there was an orange bucket that he was told that's what he would use for his bathroom when he was locked inside, Vinny.
So did he talk about being abused?
He did. And, you know, the way he answered even that question about the room, he had this almost intellectual approach to it, like it was more philosophical than something that happened to him. We know there are going to be experts who will likely talk more about what this must have been like for him and the trauma involved. But he was asked the question about whether his father's actions were abusive, particularly once they moved to Florida, and other times when he was in Arizona, which would have been about 2 months before they moved to Florida.
Were there instances where the defendant in this case, Tim Ferriter, acted toward you in a way that was physically aggressive?
Repeat the question.
Was there ever any physical aggression toward you in Florida?
There was instances of grabbing and pushing, but otherwise, no.
Okay.
Physical contact such as punching, hitting, smacking.
Right, none of that happened during the time frame in Florida?
No.
Were there times where he was verbally aggressive to you in Florida?
Yes.
Now, the jury, they're taking a lot of notes. They took notes about this, but on cross-examination, they also took notes about what this son was doing, some of his actions, the way that he was acting out, and it seemed that they were picking up on how he did seem a bit proud of some of those instances of violence against other people.
Can you describe for us, what is his behavior? What is the behavior we're talking about here?
Well, if you hear the defense's side of this, they say he was really someone who was almost out of control, that the parents couldn't predict what was going to happen next with him. And they outlined it, didn't come out on direct, but on cross-examination, they were able to outline these instances, especially with his younger brother, who was essentially a toddler when they say he hurt him. They showed a picture in court where he had an injury to his face. They talked about a classmate that he punched and one that he threatened with a screwdriver in his face. He brought a box cutter to school and he hacked a girl's computer to look at videos of other girls getting run over by a train. So it just seemed that it was not necessarily constant behavior, but that it was unpredictable and they didn't know how to handle it. And it seemed that it erupted into this decision to keep him locked away so that they could stop him from doing anything that was wrong that they couldn't control. Then the defense attorney, you see her there, that's Priya Miraj, she was asking him the question about his parents and how he felt. This was on cross-examination, and he really shocked us with something that he said here.
Do you think it's hard to think of good memories when everyone around you has a bad image of Tim and Tracy in their mind?
I can easily recall the good times, but I don't have a bad image of Tim and Tracy. They just made a mistake. They just acting out of frantic surprise of my actions. They weren't. I believe that they weren't trying to do any harm.
Yeah.
I believe that people should recognize that that was a mistake and forgive them and move on.
I appreciate that.
And we saw some emotion from Tracy Ferriter in the courtroom when he said that. He also constantly referred to his parents as Tim and Tracy, never mom and dad or my mother and my father, Vinny.
That's fascinating, that part as well. Now, his sister, right, also took the stand today?
Yeah, she was back on the stand for cross-examination, totally different demeanor from his sister. Even though she's older than him, she came across much younger. She's 17 years old. She was very nervous on the stand. She was shy. You could barely hear her voice at times. There were technical difficulties, but really it was because we couldn't hear her voice in the mic because she was in a satellite room. And she had a much more emotional seeming response to what was happening to her brother. Take a listen to her answering the question from the prosecutor about whether or not she recalled having any concerns for her brother's life.
You could hear the physical abuse when it was happening there. Yes. And did you in fact see an instance where he was pressed up against a wall? Yes. Okay. Were his feet on the ground when that happened? I don't remember. Okay. Did that incident scare you? Yes. What were you worried about? That he was grabbing too tight, that something worse than just hurt might have. I was worried that one day, that he might
Objection.
Overruled.
that he would accidentally kill my brother.
And if you couldn't make it out, it was hard for us to even hear it in the courtroom, but she said she was worried her dad would accidentally kill her brother. Powerful testimony from the sister.
And how long and how often was he locked in the garage in that box? And I call it a box because to be a bedroom, you need a window. and you need a closet. Like anyone who's ever bought a house knows that. But there's like no window. So how long is he locked in that box at a time?
Yeah, and access to a bathroom, right, Vinny? He didn't have any means of getting to a bathroom.
Locked in because the lock's on the outside.
That room.
Yep.
Exactly. So the most time the prosecution says he was in that box was 18 hours at a time. And they say there were times he was locked in during the day, that he was there in the dark, but it wasn't something where he didn't go to school every day. So he was out. There were times that he was doing yard work. There were times when he was able to move around the house. They acknowledged that he was able at times to move about, and it wasn't a 24/7 thing, but that it was beyond normal for them to keep him inside of this room hours on end, seemingly constant, where you have him being locked inside of this area.
Julia Janae in West Palm Beach tonight. Thank you so much, Julia. Appreciate it. All right, let's bring in our think tank. Join us live in studio tonight. Criminal defense attorney, entertainment attorney, former assistant DA in Atlanta. Also did that down in Florida. Daryl Cohn is with us. Also joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney, Emory University law professor, and Georgia Innocence Project board member. Just won a huge trial against the federal government. Molly Palmer is with us. And finally, the man behind the glasses, criminal defense attorney, Josh Schiffer. All right, great to see everyone. Here's my problem. These guys, you got to see them. Like they look at like they want to move into that room. Like you guys want to rent the room. Like you're going to do a Airbnb there. Here's the problem, right? They have money. That house is like $1 million. Exactly. You're moving from Arizona. You know how many children you have. How about instead of building a room for him in the garage without windows and a bucket, buying a house that's got a room for him?
Here's your problem. This case is from Florida, so we know there's no social safety net for troubled children. They just give them to the wolves. That's the way the state government is. And these parents had a disruptive, angry, violent, and manipulative teenage child. And hold on, there's a multi-billion-dollar treatment industry where you take your problem kid and send him to Arizona and send him to adventure camp, where they make
military school.
They make this box look like the Ritz-Carlton. Are you kidding me? We have parents who are making sure their kid goes to school and he's being put in timeout in a custom luxury room in the garage.
Luxury.
Oh, come on.
Are you kidding me?
No, this...
How about empowering the parents for a minute and keep your state judgment out of their lives?
Really? So there are tragedies over which we have no control. This is a tragedy that the parents made happen. This kid is suffering from PTSD. What happened to the psychiatrist, the psychologist, the social worker? There is no excuse for what these parents did. None at all. Maybe mitigating circumstances, but whatever this kid did, he should have been counseled. Obviously, he wasn't. And if they had this much money to build a box, you know what it reminds me of? World War II, when we see the films where we had prisoners in a box that was outside in the sun. It's not cat on a hot tin roof. This was boy in a box.
Daryl likes stories about gladiators, too.
I know he does. It's not really about a box, or does it have windows, or what is this, is it like the Ritz-Carlton? It's actually a bit more nuanced than that for this jury. It's whether the parents acted maliciously. And I think the jury could find, Daryl, that they had a purpose, they had an excuse. And if they find that, they're not guilty. Because under the statute, it says it can only be aggravated child abuse if there is malicious punishment without any justification whatsoever.
Which is exactly what it was.
Well, if you go to juvenile court, you'll hear these same frustrated parents every day begging judges for assistance in managing unruly teenage kids.
These people had money. They had the ability to have him counseled. And they chose not to do it.
And they brought in their own treatment, and they decided to handle it as a family by building their own solution.
Excuse me.
When did you become such a victim flogging snowflake on this? This is a freedom to parent your child appropriately. The state's not going to lock them up.
Magic word, appropriately. This was about as inappropriate as possibly it could be. And by the way, I don't see the MD after your name.
it's better to put him in a box than whoop him the old-fashioned way. This is progressive
Well, apparently there
parenting.
was a little bit of that too. The daughter's testimony, she was afraid that he was going to kill her brother.
Afraid. Listen, my father could have killed me thousands of times.
Well, you
I'm
would have
still here.
deserved it, perhaps.
I probably did, but guess what? He never did. There's been no allegation of violent beating or anything of the sort.
The boy's testimony himself, he said he has never been punched or he was only shoved a bit or grabbed. That's it.
And,
So,
talk about the maturity of that young man. How does a young man get to be that calm and assured of
He's
himself?
adopted.
Not just the
genetics.
adoption. He has gone through
Nature, not
therapy.
nurture.
He has
That's
gone
nature,
through,
not nurture.
He has gone through therapy. He has been over-therapized and given so much sophistication he can barely
Listen,
relate to being
if the parents
a
are at their
teenager.
wits' end, right? If you're at your wits' end, you don't know what to do, the answer is not build a box and put a lock on the outside. He can't get out. They're locking him in a box that's in the garage. It's not even in the house. Like, how about buying a house with one more room and skipping the pool that they had for the biological children?
Not all of us
How about that?
Not all of us are big shot New Jerseyites, man. That's not a realistic solution. This is a family that their other option is to call the police. And
They
you don't.
did not do it. What they should have done is call the police on themselves, and so we are perpetrating a crime on our
never
If,
call
if
the
their
police
box
on
wasn't
yourself.
punishment, why did they lie about it when they first were called out? Oh, no, that's an office. We were built in an office.
Because you're
It was
afraid of the
just an
state.
office.
They had CRS, couldn't remember stuff.
Exactly. All right, they're with us the whole hour. Up next. New details tonight in the abduction and rescue of Charlotte Sena. Where was she held, and what do we know about the suspect?